The gene that shouldn't exist, the mystery hidden in human DNA. Beneath the quiet skin of the world, beneath oceans and deserts and the pulse of billions of hearts, something ancient moves in silence, a whisper in ourselves, a riddle older than language, a signature etched into the architecture of life long before history opened its eyes. DNA is not just a blueprint, it is a memory, and some memories refuse to die. Most of our genetic story follows patterns we expect: inheritance, adaptation, migration, survival. But every now and then, something appears in the genome that should not exist, a sequence with no known ancestor among any living people, a fragment without a tribe, without a homeland, without a fossil to anchor its name, an echo of a forgotten people who vanished before the world learned how to remember them. Millions of humans today carry this impossible fragment, a piece of a lost lineage, a silent guest woven into our blood. It behaves like a ghost, present but originless. It matches no known population, not ancient farmers, not Ice Age tribes, not Neanderthals or Denisovans. It belongs to a people we have never found, never recorded, never imagined. Imagine a thread woven through humanity's tapestry, spun by hands that left no trace. Imagine a chapter of human evolution missing from every book, yet preserved inside us like a secret invitation to rediscover who we are. So the question becomes, how can a gene exist when its people do not? And if such a lineage once walked the earth, hidden from history, what else have we forgotten? This is the story of the gene that shouldn't exist and the civilization that disappeared but did not vanish. Humanity has always believed its origins were carved neatly through time. Hunters, gatherers, tribes, kingdoms, empires. We imagined a straight path, a story told in monuments and pottery and bones. But beneath those layers lies another archive, one carried by every living person, our genome. When scientists study patterns in human DNA, they expect signals from known populations: early African foragers, ancient West Eurasian hunters, East Asian clusters, Melanesian lines, and so on. But decades ago, something unexpected appeared, a tiny percentage of genetic code that failed to align with any known group. It surfaced first in South Asian populations, then in Southeast Asia, then in Sub-Saharan Africa, then small traces appeared in Europeans and indigenous Americans. Like a shadow spreading across continents, faint but undeniable. This was not Neanderthal, not Denisovan, not Homo erectus, not any recognized archaic human. It was a lineage that diverged from Homo sapiens hundreds of thousands of years ago, but vanished before leaving fossil evidence. No tools, no settlements, no skeletons, nothing but a whisper of their existence hidden in our DNA. At first, researchers doubted the data. Maybe contamination, maybe a misalignment. But as genome sequencing advanced, the same signature kept appearing, consistent across distant populations separated by oceans and millennia. A ghost population, a missing branch of our family tree. To uncover their story, we must travel back to a time when Earth was young, climate was unstable, and multiple human species walked the same landscapes. A time when migrations were driven not by choice, but by survival. A time when our ancestors met others, sometimes peacefully, sometimes violently, leaving traces modern science is only just beginning to uncover. Because somewhere in this ancient world, a forgotten people lived, thrived, and crossed paths with the ancestors of modern humans, filling our genome with mysteries waiting to be decoded. Now, to understand where this ghost lineage came from, we step deeper,
Into the world before history. Picture the world between 300,000 and 60,000 years ago. Africa was a cradle not of one human species, but of many. The climate shifted between humid green corridors and vast dry deserts. Human groups separated, evolved independently, and later converged again as the environment changed. Haplogroups, ancient genetic branches, tell this story. Think of them as the continents of our DNA, each marking a different journey through time. The earliest Homo sapiens emerged in East Africa roughly 300,000 years ago. But alongside them were other hominin species, some we know, some we barely understand, and some we have not yet found. The ghost lineage is believed to have split from the ancestors of modern humans somewhere between 600,000 and 700,000 years ago. Around the same time, Neanderthals diverged. But unlike Neanderthals and Denisovans, whose bones and tools have been found across Eurasia, this lineage left no identifiable physical trace. Genetically, however, they remain. Studies of West African genomes, particularly Yoruba and Mende populations, show that up to 19% of their DNA may trace back to this unknown archaic group. Southeast Asian island populations show similar faint signals. Even some South Asian and Pacific populations carry fragments that align with neither Neanderthals nor Denisovans. This suggests one thing. Our ancestors encountered this mysterious group multiple times across different regions. Like a river branching into unseen tributaries, the movement of humans was far more complex than once imagined. Migration routes overlapped, populations merged, climate pressures pushed groups into new territories where they met others who survived in isolation for thousands of generations. And in those encounters, whether brief or prolonged, genes were exchanged, silent markers were passed down, tiny signatures that survived while everything else vanished. Archaeology provides hints. Strange tools in West Africa that don't match known traditions, anomalous footprints, unclassified bone fragments, isolated populations on ancient islands, genetic bottlenecks suggesting survival in pockets of refuge. Each clue a whisper pointing toward a forgotten people who lived in the shadows of early humans. Their genes travel through us like messages sealed in time. But their faces, their language, their world remain unknown. Yet their influence becomes clearer as we step into the period when major civilizations began forming and human populations collided, merged, and transformed. As modern humans expanded out of Africa around 60,000 years ago, they encountered multiple hominin species, Neanderthals in Europe, Denisovans in Asia, and possibly other non-named groups. These encounters shaped our genome, leaving measurable traces that define parts of our immunity, metabolism, and even physical traits. But what about the ghost lineage? The strongest evidence suggests they lived primarily in West and Central Africa, and perhaps parts of Southeast Asia or the Indian Ocean corridor. The continent's dense forests, rapid decomposition, and limited excavation sites make fossil discovery rare, which may explain the absence of physical remains. But their genetic presence reveals several major events. 1. The West African encounter, some 50,000 to 20,000 years ago. During a period of climatic expansion, Homo sapiens groups moved deeper into forest regions. Here they encountered descendants of the ghost lineage. Interbreeding occurred, blending genes that still influence modern populations. 2. Coastal migrations, some 60,000 years ago. Some human groups traveled along coastal routes into Arabia and South India. Genetic anomalies in South Indian, Andamanese, and some Southeast Asian populations suggest that a second encounter may have taken place somewhere between the Arabian Peninsula and the Bay of Bengal. 3. The Saharan Green Period, some 120,000 to 70,000 years ago. When the Sahara transformed into a lush belt of lakes and grasslands, human populations moved freely across what is now desert. This mobility increased interactions between isolated lineages and island refugia. Some researchers propose the ghost population might have lived on now submerged islands off ancient African coasts, later merging with humans during periods of low sea level. Through each era, the world was not a stage for simple expansion, but a living tapestry of blending, isolation, and rediscovery. The gene that shouldn't exist, the fragment we carry, is a residue from these forgotten meetings. Not a conquest, a blending. Not an invasion, a quiet merging in forgotten forests, coasts.
The gene that shouldn't exist does more than confuse scientists. It affects us. Among the traits linked to this ghost lineage: 1. Immune system adaptations. Fragments appear in regions associated with inflammation control and pathogen defense. This suggests the ghost lineage survived in environments with unique disease pressures, adaptations later passed to modern humans. 2. Metabolic traits. Some variants linked to heat tolerance, fat storage efficiency, or tropical climate adaptation may trace back to this lineage. Like a red thread in the tapestry, these traits appear in clusters where the ghost signal is strongest. 3. Neurological markers. A few sequences lie near genes associated with brain development. Though not determinants of intelligence or behavior, they hint that this ancient group possessed distinct neurological traits, now interwoven into modern populations. 4. Physical traits. Some West African and certain South Asian traits, height variation, muscle fiber distribution, skin adaptation, show faint correlations with archaic introgression. 5. Unknown functions. Many segments remain unclassified, their purpose unclear, silent fingerprints of history waiting for interpretation. These traits challenge the idea of a simple human lineage. They reveal that modern humans are mosaics, living archives of encounters with cousins who disappeared long before civilizations rose. But DNA tells only half the story. For the rest, we look at how these traces shape identity. Culture is memory, identity is inheritance, and both stretch far beyond what we can see. For countless communities across Africa, South Asia, and the Pacific, ancient lineages have always been part of their oral histories. Stories of forest people, ancestral spirits, mountain dwellers, and sky-watching tribes may reflect cultural memories of human groups now extinct. DNA does not replace these stories, it deepens them. When we learn that our genome carries the echoes of a forgotten people, identity expands. It becomes layered, textured, living. It reminds us that humanity is not a straight line, but a braided river, millions of threads converging. The ghost lineage does not define anyone, but it humbles us. It reveals that we carry the courage of ancient wanderers, the resilience of those who survived isolation, the diversity of countless forgotten ancestors, the stories of entire civilizations reduced to a few strands of DNA. The past walks with us, coded in our cells, whispered in our blood. We began with a mystery, a gene that should not exist, a lineage without a name, a people without a face, and yet they endure in us. Their story is not lost, only hidden. Their legacy is not erased,
only quiet. Their existence is not forgotten, only waiting. By piecing together the fragments of our genome, we resurrect their memory. We honor the unseen. We recognize that every human alive today is a library of worlds long vanished. History records the rise of empires. DNA records everyone else. And somewhere inside us, that impossible gene continues to whisper. Humanity is far older, far deeper, and far more mysterious than we ever imagined. Which part of this ancient story surprised you most? Tell us in the comments, and join us as we continue exploring the secrets written in our blood.